Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for today's video because I am going to be taking you on a tour around my garden here in Houston, Texas for an early spring garden tour. Today is the 5th of April 2024 and a lot is going on in the garden. I'm not only going to be doing a show and tell, I'm also going to use this opportunity to drop a lot of tips, a lot of growing tips. Before we head off to the garden, kindly give this video a thumbs up, share the video with somebody you know that might find the information valuable. That's if you enjoy the content as well. And why not subscribe to join the channel? Come on, let's go. All right, guys, let me start right here with what is going on here. I have planted my pollinators. These are flowers and sometimes they are edible that attract things like bees, things like butterflies to your garden. It's right here. Some of them have started to come up. They will come up and they will attract these pollinators, which are essential for pollinating some of the things that you have in your garden, and they just look beautiful. Now, what I have right here and then over there is what is known as the Cape gooseberry or the golden berry. I bought the fruit from HEB, saved the seeds, and I am trying to see if it will grow here. Moving right along, these right here in my sunken garden, my sunken container garden here, these are known as tree tomatoes, Ota Marillo. I'm trying these out for the first time this year and I'm so excited. I've never seen them grow, so I'll keep you posted. These are my tree tomatoes. Here I have bitter leaves. These are the broadleaf bitter leaves. Started them from seeds last year, 2023. And then over the winter, normally the stems dry up, but the roots do survive. And then come spring, back here in Houston, Texas, our bitter leaves usually start to sprout again at the bottom. And what you want to do is prune the bitter leaves and soften the soil around and maybe add more manure, more compost so that it continues to grow. So this is fresh growth of the bitter leaves right here. And try this little space right here. It's a 5 by 5 foot, so it's just 25 square feet of gardening that I'm trying out what is known as square foot gardening. If all the space I had was 5 by 5, I could still grow a lot of vegetables that I will use to feed myself and my family. So over here, I have peppers. I have at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have like 8 pepper plants growing here. I have my herbs. I do have thyme right here. I have rosemary. I have celery. I have bitter leaves. And then I have okra, 2 okra plants. I have 2 garden eggs, the African garden eggs. I have parsley, sage, thyme, you name it, cilantro, they're all here in this little space. So space should not be an issue at all. If you have a small space, figure out what can give you a lot of yield. For example, peppers, tomatoes, garden eggs, that kind of stuff, what you enjoy eating, and you can grow it in a very small space. Herbs as well, that's what I would recommend. And here we have freshly transplanted njama. This is the garden huckleberry. So I transplanted the garden huckleberry over here and over there. So when you transplant the garden huckleberry, it suffers from severe transplant shock, but it always picks up. So when you transplant your huckleberry, make sure you water them thoroughly and you water consistently, and it picks up, it does pick up. And as you can see, I spaced them about 6 inches apart. There's more peppers here. These peppers are being eaten by some chewing pests. I suspect we have snails around here. I'll show you what I use for snail control. So yeah, guys, when you start your garden in the spring, after a long season of, cold weather, winter and stuff, and you didn't quite have green stuff in the garden, what can happen is, as soon as you put out your transplants, we also have pests in the garden waiting to eat, So they see green stuff and they're like, ooh, a salad bar over there. And they come and they can destroy your plants. So if you start to see this in the garden, it means you have issues with probably slugs, snails, that kind of stuff. So this is what I use, Slug Magic. It really helps. I probably just miss applying it here. So I just go around and dust it around the garden frequently. I did that. That's why a lot of my vegetables don't have that issue. Yeah. So you want to use this. It's available on Amazon. I'm going to put the link in the description box. See, it's for organic gardening. Okay. So it's safe. Tribe, over here is where I have my bitter leaves going on. I have different types of bitter leaves in the garden. This here is what is known as sweet bitter leaf. It's called sweet bitter leaf because it is not as bitter as the other types of bitter leaves. Duh. But this particular variety of bitter leaves is known as Vernonia hymenolapsis, as opposed to the bitter leaves that we know. This one is Vernonia amygdalina. This one is more bitter. This one is a perennial, and this one is more of an annual. So I have both types going on. Started these from seeds. These ones I am doing stem propagation from last year's bitter leaves. And you can absolutely grow bitter leaves in containers. This is a 10-gallon grow bag. I have about 4 stems going on in there. Oh, and note this, because I have a very big bed here, I do put something so I can step on and walk to the other side. Show you the other bitter leaf. This one I've had in this particular grow bag for at least 5 years. It grows very tall, and then come winter, it dies down. I prune the brown stems, and it grows again. Okay, at this point, the roots have penetrated the fabric bag, which is one reason why I like the fabric bag. So it's growing in ground right now. So yeah, guys, it's my little bitter leaf garden here. And if I move to the side over here, well, before I go show you more of the bitter leaves, I have my sweet potatoes in here, the slips. I harvested the slips from that one sweet potato, planted them in this bag just to see if I can grow sweet potatoes in, in a grow bag. And if you're wondering what I have, what the hell I have in cups over here, I have water leaves. This is I guess the double cup method of starting seeds outdoors. So this transparent cup serves as a dome to keep the heat in, humidity and that good stuff. So I have water leaves here, same idea. There's water leaves in this container. These are my rosemary plants that I started from seeds. So we have more water leaves and even fluted pumpkins in those cups over there. Tribe, along the fence is also a space that you can use to grow a lot of things. Things that I like to grow along the fence, bitter leaves, they do very well when planted along the fence. I've also put some containers along the fence over there, and in those containers I have the fluted pumpkins. Let me show you. So these are the bitter leaves, guys, right here. Bitter leaves. And then here we have the containers of ugu, or the fluted pumpkins. See that? They're doing so well. I've put some sticks here because the fluted pumpkin is a vine. So I'm hoping that the vine, the tendrils, they do find the sticks. It latches onto it and then it helps it to grow. And then here I've put a cucumber net, astralis. So I'm hoping that the fluted pumpkin will eventually grow up here and cover the tendrils. This year I'm growing a lot of tomatoes. I have some growing on this bed right here, which I'll show you in a minute, and then I also have some growing in containers. So I picked this particular space for my tomatoes because it is not exposed to direct sunlight like that. It does get sunlight, but it's not like that kind of harsh sunlight all day in Houston, because when you have like harsh sunlight for a very long period of time, sometimes it can affect your tomatoes fruit production. Like it will produce flowers, but then the flowers will just dry up and drop. That's when it gets too hot for too long. So this space is just perfect, and that's because I have this greenhouse here. I didn't take my greenhouse down. Let me show you. So that's my greenhouse that I installed over the winter. I was thinking I'll take down the greenhouse, but I figured out that it was providing a little bit of shade for my garden, which was wonderful. So I left the greenhouse like that. It's open. Of course, it has stuff growing in there, which I'll show you. But it's just wonderful because it's providing beautiful shade for my tomato plants over here. My tomatoes are doing absolutely well and fantastic. And these are determinate tomatoes, meaning they will probably just grow, produce their flowers and fruits all at once and then be done, which I want, because I'm going to plant something else in this space once I'm done with the tomatoes. I didn't want to be dealing with tomatoes all year long. I will plant okra over here once I'm done with the tomatoes. So these are the tomatoes, and it's starting to put out flowers, as you can see, beautiful flowers. And one thing with growing tomatoes, you have to prune. You have to prune, and you have to prune these suckers, these little stems or shoots, I don't know how to call them. They're called suckers, coming out of here, the space between the main stem and the leaves. These ones, you want to cut them, and you want to do that almost every day, because if you don't, you have a bunch of stems, yes, coming out from all over here. It will be so difficult to manage. So that's one tip about growing tomatoes. Prune the bottom leaves so they're not touching the earth, so you don't get disease from any soil-borne disease into your plant through the leaves. So you prune all of the bottom leaves, and then make sure you prune the suckers. And I leave just one vine, and when the one vine gets to about this level, like so, if it forms two, I can allow two vines so I get more fruit. But that single stem vining, I find, is one of the secrets to growing tomatoes that I did not know. I learned that last year, and I'm implementing it this year. All right, guys, inside my greenhouse, and I do it in quotes because it's staying open except it's shaded, I have started some seeds. These are seeds of the njama, the garden huckleberry that I talk about a lot. These are about 2 weeks old. So we have the garden huckleberry, and we have like other things in here. That this is amaranth, this is green. It's self-seeding. I did not nurse the green, but I had greens over here last year, so I expect the seeds to be in the soil, and they're now just sprouting. Anyway, this is the garden huckleberry at 2 weeks, doing very well in here. So once this grows to a certain height, I'm going to pick some out, thin them out, transplant some. Okay, I've also started some okra seeds in here in containers, different types of okra. I have the Hill Country red okra in here. And then on the other side, we have more of the sweet bitter leaves over there. Guys, can you guess what this is? Can you guess? Can you guess what I have in containers here? This is stevia. You know the sugar, the non-caloric sugar? It's a plant, guys. So this is stevia. The leaves are very sweet. So this is what they use to extract and make what we know as stevia, the non-caloric natural sugar. I'm growing them in here, started them from seeds. Stevia does not like cold weather. You know, they die when the temperatures get down to 45, which is why I still have them right here. greenhouse. I need to show you my bitter leaf that I started from seeds. This is not the sweet bitter leaves. This is the regular bitter leaves. I already shared a video with you where I got the seeds. So if you want to know where to get bitter leaf seeds, go watch that video. Go watch that video. I'm going to put a link. Watch that video so you can find out where to buy your bitter leaf seeds, but it's doing well. Guys, look at what I did here. What I did here is I did take out the blocks that I had at the end here, and then I put these buckets. Of course, they have holes at the bottom for drainage. This is space management. And because I did that, I was able to fix the soil, create that barrier for planting my peppers. So we have 4 red bell peppers in containers over here. I started everything from seeds. So it's starting to produce flowers, as you can see already. I'm so excited. So these are my red bell peppers over here. And then back here, I'm doing what is known as in situ composting. In situ composting, I'm just throwing, stuff from the kitchen scraps, garden scraps over here. And then I have this container of soil. So when I put a bunch of greens in there, and then I just dust some soil over it to facilitate composting and to prevent all of these fruit flies. So this is in situ composting. I'm using this space back here. Next year, this will be good manure that I will use to amend my soil with. Moving right along on this bed here, I have onions. These are the onions I planted in December, early December, the fall of last year. And so we are in the spring and these are ready for harvesting. I've harvested some already and I know it's ready for harvesting because the greens are falling over like this. So it means the growth has stopped and the onions, they've bobbed beautifully. So whenever I need onions, I just pull one up. You see how huge it is? See that? So I have my onions growing over here on like half of the bed. This is like 8 by 4 or something like that. So I use the 4 by 4 space for onions. And then back there, I nurse some of the garden huckleberry. And I've been removing the garden huckleberry from there, thinning them out and planting them over there where I already showed you. Just like on the other bed over here, I did put some of my containers again, make sure it has holes at the bottom. So instead of the blocks over here, I put these containers and I have peppers growing in here. A lot of peppers I love to grow. This is the Ghanaian kwakoshito pepper right here. And then here we have chocolate scotch bonnet. I always label. So that's the scotch bonnet, another chocolate scotch bonnet, and another chocolate scotch bonnet. I did the same thing over here. Took out some of the blocks and replaced them with containers. And these here have my green bell peppers. And also notice that I put a cage over my peppers just to protect them because they are going to grow very big and they get heavy. So they need some kind of a support. I'm not going to lie. These things are expensive, but it's an investment that you make once and then you will use for years and years in the garden. I got these ones this year. These ones I've had for many, many years. These are the colorful ones. I always cage my stuff. So obviously we have more peppers here. This is the one sweet potato, which I cheated, CHITTED, which means you just plant it and then it makes all of these slips for you. You harvest the slips and you plant them. So this slip here came from this, that one came, and then the other one that I showed you all came from here. And I can continue to harvest more slips. Okay, and then these are the tomatoes in 10-gallon grow bags I mentioned. So I have different varieties in here. This one is a special tomato, the Moya Mensing tomato. It has history behind it and cultural significance. So it's doing well here. This is tomatoes for canning. This is a hybrid. This one is Tachi tomato, it's a hybrid tomato. That's your regular everyday Roma tomatoes. And it's the first to fruit. You see that? It's starting to fruit for me already. This one I did not label, don't know what it is. But yeah, guys, look. See the trellis thing that I built myself? How cool. Yes, guys, I have corn. This is our African maize. I have a few of them in the garden. And the only reason why I planted corn here is so that I can compare it to what is going on at my allotment. I have an allotment about 10 minutes away from here. I don't go there every day. But I planted this corn just to give me an idea of how the other one is doing in terms of stage of growth, so I know when to visit. Okay, so more of the bitter leaves over here. And then here we have scent leaf. Guys, scent leaf is also a perennial. This is scent leaf from last year. See, that's the woody stem. Pruned it. More scent leaf is coming up. And because it was growing here last year, it's self-seeded. So this is all scent leaf popping up. Did not plant the seeds. So once it gets warm enough, your scent leaf, water leaf, they will always come up. Oh, that's, I guess I planted corn over there. And here we have nkui. If you're from Cameroon, you might recognize this. Nkui. It's grown for the stems. It produces a mucilaginous substance, much like okra. And then we add a bunch of African spices to that slimy extract that we get from here. It's so yummy, and we eat it with fufu corn. So I'm growing kui right here. I'm very excited to see how the kui does. I just put this cage as a protective barrier so something doesn't knock my kui over. And it's growing in a partly shaded area. You don't want to put your kui in direct sunlight. All right, guys, this is onions curing over here. I hung them upside down. So this is going to dry up completely. When it dries up completely, then I will take them inside for storage. So you always have to cure your onions. Okay, now let's go to this side of the garden. If you have space around your house, you can use it. You can use it to grow a lot of things. So here I did put some big giant grow bags. These are 10-gallon grow bags right here. Fill them up with soil so I can control the quality of the soil. And I have bitter leaves growing in here, as you can see. These are bitter leaves. I also planted my fluted pumpkin, some of them, in smaller grow bags, and it's sitting on top of this one. So what will eventually happen is if the roots get too big, it's going to go through the fabric bag and continue growing inside this one. So this works. I don't need too much soil for this. It grows into that one. Plus, it elevates the ugu so that it can find sunlight. And since it's a vine, it's going to grow towards that sunlight anyway. So this is more of the ugu. Down here we have bitter leaves, a bag of the ugu, that's the fluted pumpkin or the okong obong. It's just to give you an idea of what you can grow in spaces that otherwise are useless. And yeah, more bitter leaves. I did put a not cucumber, this is cantaloupe. And this is another cantaloupe. And then I put watermelon here. I don't know if it will grow, but that's watermelon and that's watermelon. I'm showing you everything today. Okay, so this is my compost bin. I have a compost bin over here as well. See that? Okay. So there's stuff going on here, and this is my little storage area. Gardening stuff, seed starting stuff is right here. Okay, now let's go to the other side of the garden as I show you what is going on. All right, guys, on this side of the garden, I have the fluted pumpkin growing in ground. I will show you. So I have the fluted pumpkin. I do have peppers here. I have the garden eggs. I have some of the garden huckleberry, the broadleaf garden huckleberry. On njama, I have cucumbers, and then I have tons of peppers growing in containers at the side of the house over there. I'm growing all kinds of peppers, from the sweet peppers to the super hots. We're talking the mild peppers to the scorpions, Carolina Reaper type of peppers. I have all of them growing and I'm excited to show you. Let's start with the fluted pumpkin or the ugu. We call it okong obong in Cameroon. So this one is growing in ground. They're growing in ground, spaced about 40 centimeters, 2.5 feet or so apart. Yeah, I think that's how I spaced them right here, giving it enough room so I can also walk all the way to the end without stepping on anything. So I have my fluted pumpkin. I did put all of these sticks hoping that it will find, the tendrils will find it and then climb. But it just wants to grow how it wants to grow, which is okay. It's doing very well. So what I've done is I've applied some mulch already. I'm going to apply more mulch. I have top dressed with chicken manure. When planting, I did put chicken manure inside. And then after a few weeks, I top dressed with chicken manure. I just put some around here. It's doing very well. Over here, directly in ground, I've planted some amaranth. It's not sprouted yet, but there's amaranth here. And there's also corn here. I've planted some corn along the fence. I've put a couple of the African corn here. And then in these containers, I have different things going on. This here is mint. So guys, in this container, I have mint. You want to grow your mint in a container, guys, because if you plant it directly in ground in your garden, it can take over your garden. So that's mint. You use it to make teas. You can add it to your smoothies. You can juice it, add it to your juices. And in these containers, I have peppers. Like I said, I have all kinds of peppers. But what I want you to also notice is I've tucked in spices. So if you're growing peppers in containers, you know, like this is the pepper. I have basil. I have celery. Yeah, basil and celery in the same container. Look at that. That's my celery. Started it from seeds. Basil and peppers. This is a type of pepper from Nigeria. I don't know what it is. Somebody gave me the seeds, but it's doing well over here. And notice that I always cage my peppers like I told you. And guys, this is a type of garden egg. This one is from Cameroon. I went to a market. I bought the fruit of the garden egg and I planted the seeds and it's doing well. What I noticed is this one has, the leaf has a spine. The leaf has little chuku chuku. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it produces fruits. It produces fruits, but so far it's doing well. So some of you have asked me what you can plant alongside your ugu, like what you can interplant with the fluted pumpkin. You can definitely plant some okra, you can plant peppers, and you can plant garden eggs and water leaves and even amaranth with your fluted pumpkin, and it will be just fine. So you see that that's okra popping up over there next to my ugu, which is right next to my garden egg. It will all be fine. So I have the garden eggs growing here at the edge, and then the okra is going to grow tall and provide some kind of shade. And then we have our fluted pumpkin going on over there. So here you can see pepper right at the edge. Here you want to arrange it that way, and then okra, fluted pumpkin. So the fluted pumpkin is at the back, and then the other things that I've interplanted with the fluted pumpkin is closer to the front. And always leave space to walk and take care of your plants, okay? Moving right along, over here, this tiny space is, yeah, it has a lot of things going on. This is njama, the big leaf, the bamun variety. I think the Kenya people call it managu. So the leaves are edible. I've harvested some already. These get ready in 45 days or less from seed to harvest. So I'm harvesting some and then I am leaving some for seed saving. So this one I have not harvested because I want it to grow all the way and give seeds for me. I've tucked in some flowers over here for pest control and for pollinators. The beautiful flowers attract butterflies to your garden, and then things like the marigold help repel pests. All right, guys, my garden egg story. They have all produced flowers at this point. I'm just waiting for the garden eggs to start giving me fruits. I have my eyes here almost on a daily basis, just waiting for that fruit production at this point. Yeah, some of the flowers continue to drop. The early flowers somehow just want to drop, but I'm just waiting to see fruit production. So we have these ones in containers here. Then we have more of the garden eggs in containers over here. So this is Intori, the Intori garden eggs right here. We have more in containers over here. So this is the Intori garden eggs. And guys, my cucumbers. I enjoy eating cucumbers in my salads, and I grew some last year. They did so well. Tastes a whole lot better than the ones from the store. So this year I decided to grow more. So that's my setup for cucumbers. I have them in these buckets. I planted 2 per bucket, and that's my whole trellis system right here. So my hope is it's going to grow up like this. And then I have the little, I don't know, clips. So I'll use them to train the vines over here, and then eventually they'll find their way up here. Now I'm going to show you my peppers. I have a lot of peppers growing in different containers here. So I started the peppers from seeds, put them in containers, planted them here early spring. I know they are going to grow very big. As they continue to grow, and if space becomes an issue, because they're in containers, I can easily move them around the garden. Here, let me show you. All right, guys, just look at how healthy my peppers are. I have shared all the secrets I know how to share on how to grow healthy peppers that will be productive. Look at just how healthy the peppers are. Again, they are growing in different size containers. These are fabric bags. These ones are just 3 gallons, which is fine if you know what you're doing. It just means I need to keep an eye on the frequency of watering, the frequency of feeding, the type of plant food I have in there, and so on and so forth. So these are all like habanero peppers. Yes, yeah, they're habaneros. The ones I've shown you so far, a lot of habaneros. And then this particular one is known as fish pepper. It's an ornamental pepper. See, it's starting to bloom already, which means I'll be having fruits soon. More habaneros. And then these ones over here are my super hots. The super hots are the like super extra hots. Okay, so I have different ones. Oh, never mind. This one is shito, Paco shito from Ghana. This is shito.